Okay, welcome everybody back to a new episode of Faith at Work Messages. Today, what is our topic for today, Khary?
Our topic will be the 10 characteristics of successful entrepreneurs.
And what element of wellness are we talking about?
This will be in the category of occupational wellness.
Okay. And even though I already said your name, I'm Elder Pamela Robin Smith. You are
Khary Smith McCall.
And we have on the line with us
Elder William Robinson.
Yes, and so today we're going to talk about the successful entrepreneurs as it pertains to occupational wellness. And our prayer is that you will be enlightened, educated, and inspired to move forward in your ventures. So, we're all about giving credit where credit is due. Khary, who are we giving credit to?
We are giving credit to Dr. Peggy Swarbrick. Who is that, you may ask? She's a Rutgers professor who coined the 8-dimensional wellness back in the 90s. It was her way to shine a light on disparities that people face daily. This podcast discussion is about occupational wellness, which is based on Dr. Swarbrick's work. The content discussed today will also come from the article 10 Characteristics of Successful Entrepreneurs by Kelsey Miller, a contributor on Harvard Business School Online.
So, just in case some folks are not familiar, the 8 dimensions of wellness are on the screen. We got spiritual, physical, social, emotional, and another word for occupational is vocational, financial, environmental, and mental and or intellectual. So talking about today, we said we're going to talk about occupational as it pertains to entrepreneurship. So we have 10 characteristics that's going to lead to a successful entrepreneur. And Khary's going to start us off with the first 4.
Number 1 is curiosity. Number 2 is willingness to experiment. 3 is adaptivity. 4 is decisiveness.
5 is self-awareness. 6 is risk tolerance. 7, comfort with failure. Khary, what's the last 3?
8 is persistence. 9 is innovative thinking. And 10 is long-term focus.
These characteristics are quite interesting. So, I know that when you see these characteristics on the screen, do you think they're exclusive to being an entrepreneur? How did you relate to them in your walk in your career?
Well, I would say that they're not just exclusive because these are everyday travels through life. I mean, you walk down the street and it's a risk tolerance to be able to navigate yourself across the street without getting hit. So it's something we can definitely use throughout our daily lives, not just to the entrepreneurial aspect of it.
But as an entrepreneur, would you say you exercise these characteristics regularly?
Absolutely.
I agree. So we're going to dig deeper in our episode to talk about each of these characteristics so that folks can get an idea of what it really means to be curious and experiment and adaptable. So let's take it there. So before we go there exactly, we said this is all about entrepreneurs, right? So let's talk about what is entrepreneurship. Khary, tell us, what is entrepreneurship?
Well, if we're going by, there's a Harvard Business School course that's called Entrepreneurship Essentials. And their definition of entrepreneurship is the pursuit of opportunity beyond the resources currently controlled. Also, what was said was a proposed venture to sell a product or service for which customers are willing to pay more than the required investment and operating cost.
Entrepreneurs, they discover opportunities, they form hypotheses, they perform structured tests to validate their ideas, and lastly, what do?
They emphasize importance. The emphasized importance is of an entrepreneurial team as opposed to an individual entrepreneur?
So, my personal story as an entrepreneur is that before me and your dad got together, I was an individual entrepreneur and I did it on the side. I worked a full time job and I did it on the side because, and even in doing it on the side, it was hard. And then when me and your dad got together, I went from being an individual entrepreneur to us being an entrepreneur team. So, Will, when you came into our family, what was your thought about my entrepreneurial pursuit? Did you want to run for the border, or was it something that you thought was a great pursuit?
Yeah, I'm gonna say initially I took a deep breath and said, "Oh Lord, help me." But after sitting down with you and um, talking with you and seeing your vision on where you could take this, and realizing you just needed the extra hands and eyes, um, I was 100% into it. The energy that you provided was overwhelming to make anyone want to be a part of it.
I appreciate that. And then Kyrie got old enough. He was doing played an important part of our business as well. Remember when you were doing our social media stuff?
Yes.
And now you have the expertise and credentials to do what? Information technology.
Oh, I don't know where you were going with this.
Yeah. So the business, our business, us as entrepreneurs, it's evolving. And I can just say as a testimony that it's so much easier to try to run a business as a team versus trying to do it as an individual. So I definitely agree with the Harvard Business School course. It's easier to try to do it as a team than to try to do it individually because you can't do everything. All right. This is one of the characteristics. Which one is it, Kyrie?
This one is curiosity, and if you look at the screen, we have what we know the world is Curious George. And if you read the stories of Curious George was not afraid to try anything, looking to get in anything, whether regardless of the outcome. And so we definitely have to take a few cues from Mr. George. Basically, with curiosity, the sense of curiosity is what sets entrepreneurs apart from other leaders. Uh, Remaining curious will allow you to continue to seek new opportunities as well as challenging yourself as opposed to settling.
And that course they talked about in Entrepreneur Essentials, entrepreneurship is seen as a process of discovery. So, like, I can tell you in the years that I have been in business, whether it been by myself or now as a family, you have to be curious and try new things. You can't get stuck in thinking that you're just going to stay on one track because the world around you is changing. Um, you got to look into things. It's like sometimes people live in a silo and they don't know what's going on in the world outside of theirs. Like, guys, what are your thoughts about being curious?
I mean, it definitely helps because it helps you stay alert and just moving forward. Because some people will get complacent and stagnant, and some people will get comfortable in that, and they realize they have, let's say, they have so much potential inside of them, but it's not being tapped and realized.
Yeah. Well, what do you think?
Well, I have to agree with Kyrie and kind of ride the tail a minute and say, in today's economic madhouse, you wanting to become an entrepreneur, you have to be curious because you wake up one morning, you have this wonderful idea of something that may work for you, but if you don't address the curiosity side of it, the negative side will take over completely because of waking up into today's world.
Yeah.
We don't, the financial aspect of it, where you used to be able to go out and instantly get grants or financial help through different agencies are dwindling away. And that tends to take the sale of curiosity out of people's, take the wind, I should say, out of people's sails. Uh, because they wake up, the idea is there, they're full of energy, and then they say, I don't have the money, and that bank's not going to give it to me. But if you're curious, you find a way to get around that bank and go to the next bank or somewhere, maybe a family member, anybody that would be interested in helping you satisfy your curiosity.
Yeah. Yeah. Being curious. I mean, one thing that I always love about kids in particular is they're curious. They're not afraid to discover and explore. And as we get older, we get sometimes too cautious and afraid to take some chances. But being curious is important when you're an entrepreneur, and so it's good that it's the first trait that we talk about. All right. The next trait, willingness to experiment. Khary, tell us about it.
Entrepreneurs must understand the structured experimentation. With every new opportunity that comes around, testing is necessary if the opportunity is worthy of your time and investment.
Yes. So you can come up with what you think is the most brilliant idea. Brilliant. I think it's brilliant in my little head. But if you don't have a conversation with somebody else to try it out, that idea may not be brilliant. Now, will I equate that to when I think about it from your expertise as an executive chef? Has there ever been a time you came up with a brand new dish that you thought was just brilliant? And I know you've worked in some fancy places. You don't just introduce it right to the customer, do you? Or did you try to experiment with it first?
My experimenting process was with the uh, powers that be, is what I like to call them at that time. So if I'm breaking in a new dish, new establishment, new owners, and I would just prepare it and put it before them,
Mm-hmm.
not not verbally experiment, because 9 times out of 10, sometimes a lot of people, when you say it, they don't grasp the concept of it right then and there.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes this lengthy, to me, a lengthy, drawn out picture that you have to put together in order for them to get it. Not
Mm-hmm.
saying that they're not smart, but some people just don't get it right out the gate. So with what I would do was create that dish and just present it to them and say, please sample this. Once they show me from their facial expressions, because the face does not lie. When you
No.
put that food in your mouth, if it's delicious, you're gonna slide in the chair. If not, you're gonna sit back in the chair and say, okay, I don't know. But then they would ask me what it is, and I'd let them know at that point that that's gonna become a new menu item.
Right. But that was your way of experimenting.
Yes.
So you have to test the waters, I guess, so to speak.
Mhm.
Like everything is not going to work for everybody. You have to know who's your customer, who you trying to reach. So those are the good people you want to try to do the experiment with. That way, if you can please them, they're your target audience. Then your product or your project will be successful. But you can't jump out the gate thinking everybody's going to like it when you haven't even tried it out. So experimenting is crucial. Otherwise, you're going to fall flat in your face.
I experiment now with the seasonings that I create.
Right.
A lot of folks are just used to common names on seasonings, so we try to change them up a little bit, and when they hear the name, the first question is, well, what's in it?
Give us a name, Will. Give us a name of one of your seasons that catch the attention.
Recently, uh, my buttery herb seasoning
Okay.
has been one that I've gotten a lot of positive feedback on.
Hmm.
Folks tend to say buttery herb. Okay, what's in it? How's it buttery? And when I give them the information on how it's created, they're like, oh, I'm going to give it a try. And I
Hmm.
just say, once you love it, just send me a review.
Right.
And I've gotten things such as the emoji, the pumped arm, like, banging, and you know, people who they say certain family members don't like these things. And when they try it, they love it. So that experiment went well.
Yeah.
It's been very beneficial to my seasoning line.
Okay. Experimenting is I think you and I experiment with our different products a lot. Try this out. How does this look? How does this smell? And it's all about you want to get the good positive reaction. If you're not getting the positive reaction, then you have to try something else. So the willingness to experiment and know that you're not perfect right out the gate is important as an entrepreneur. Let's see what the next characteristic is. All right, the next one is adaptability. Khary, tell us about adaptability.
Well, it's clear that we know that challenges and opportunities are constant in the world of entrepreneurship. Therefore, it's key to be adaptable.
All situations require evaluation, so flexibility is important for a business to move forward. If you are rigid, oh my God, you're not going away. That's life. I mean, I could have worked for many, many, many bosses that were so rigid about what they wanted for the business, the department, the employees. And the employees would drop like flies. Will, you have any thoughts about that?
Uh, Pretty much the same as what you just said. I've been down that road, but got to a point where um, some people would call it cockiness.
Mm,
I never saw myself as cocky. I just got comfortable. And I was one of those chefs that was like, okay, we don't do the model of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We fix it and keep it growing.
mm-hmm,
So when that one person would come in and, everybody's entitled to an opinion. Okay. If you have a good idea on how we can turn this up, because we're not going to turn it down,
mm-hmm,
turn it up, we'll try it. If it works, cool. If it's not, then the corner of rigid folks are over there to the left
mm-hmm,
because I can't use you.
mm-hmm.
So I was definitely one of those that was willing to go out and defy, challenge, um, even offend that rigid person. But it always came back positive. So I won.
Yeah. I mean, being flexible is crucial. Kyrie, you have any thoughts about being adaptable and having that flexibility?
Yes, going back to the phrase if it isn't broke, don't fix it. I mean, that might work for a certain amount of time, but eventually it's gonna become broken. It's important to when it becomes broke, it's important to fix it and better it.
Yeah. I mean, I think this trait is crucial for life, not just entrepreneurship. Having the willingness to adapt. Like, let's keep it real. Before we started today's episode, we had technology challenges, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to be a certain way and whatever, and it just wasn't working. So we had to be flexible, be willing to adapt to what does work, and keep it moving because the goal still needs to be accomplished, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna keep it moving and see what the next trait is going to be. Oh wow, decisiveness. Huh. Khary, what about decisiveness?
Entrepreneurs have to make difficult decisions to be successful. They're responsible for the trajectory of their business. But here's the thing, being decisive doesn't mean 100% correctness, but it does mean
Being able to make decisions and stand by them, making corrective choices with favorable and sometimes unfavorable outcomes. You can't be a punk. You can't be a punk. You can't stand in the middle and say, oh, I don't know what to do. If it's your business, you better figure it out. I mean, being an entrepreneur, you can't be scared to take the risk and make certain decisions. Your team is counting on you, right?
Mm-hmm.
An indecisive leader doesn't doesn't give the staff, the team, the customers confidence. It just makes them feel like this person don't know what they doing. Why am I even here? Being decisive. That's so important. Chef Will, I don't see you as ever being wishy-washy and indecisive. Am I right?
Um, to me, if I wasn't, I would say I'm perfect. So I'm gonna say there's been times where I was decisive, and there's been times where you and I have had those moments when trying to decide on new merchandise or new seasoning types, um, and how they would be promoted.
Mm-hmm.
So there are moments when, you will not always agree, and it could just be you. It could be your thought. You may not always agree with your thought. It's in your head. That's where things tend to wander. But when you put it down on paper and look at it, you've made your final decision on it. That's one of the things that I do love about you, because you'll tell me something and I'll say, okay, I don't see it, so you got to write it down. And you put it pen to paper, and I can understand where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can say, okay, that's it. That's where we're gonna go.
But it's important, as a leader, leaders, because we all are leaders in our own right, to be able to, especially if you know what your stuff is, if you're an expert in your field, your team, your clients, your customers are hoping that you know that you can make the right decisions. And if you make the wrong one, even if you make a decision and the outcome is unfavorable, own it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't say, "Oh well, if you didn't do that, then this wouldn't have happened." Own it. Don't be punk and say, "Well, I don't know what had happened." You have to own it. So you got to take a stand and be willing to understand that the outcome could be positive, it could be negative, but at least you made the decision. All right. Self awareness. Khary, what is self awareness? What is about entrepreneurs and self awareness?
An entrepreneur should be aware of their strengths and their weaknesses. It's wise to form a team that complements your abilities and to compensate for both.
It's the whole team that makes the business successful. Teammates should possess complementary talents that can contribute to the business success. That's why I said earlier in this episode that while I was trying to do my business by myself, when you were a little guy, trying to do it by myself, I had minimal success. I didn't give up. I persevered. But it seems like the business has grown more when you got old enough to be part of the team, when your dad came into the picture and he contributed his talents and his strengths. We bringing them together so that we have all different perspectives. We have different generations, we have different experiences. So and then being aware. I know, for example, that math is not my forte. I'm an artsy design person. I know your dad is good with numbers. I know you're good at numbers. You're good at thinking things through rationally. So we bring all that to the table, but you got to be aware of who you are and what you bring to the table. What are your thoughts?
Yes, in a way, it's like bringing what our abilities together and putting in bringing them together for the greater greater results.
Right. Well,
Yeah, I'm gonna say self-awareness. I'm self-aware that I can't put a paintbrush to a canvas the way Pam does. If I do,
yes, you can.
it's gonna be a hot mess. But I am aware that I can get in the kitchen and paint you the most beautifulest picture that you ever want. I'm self-aware that Khary has a talent as a young man that I can say as an older man, I kind of sort of am a little jelly of in the sense that he has a knowledge that, I, I talk with him about different things and I gain new insight. And I sit back and I go, okay, after our conversation, I go, okay, this young boy just taught me something
Mm-hmm.
and he don't even realize he did it. So self-awareness is not just what's in front of you at that moment. It's the everyday thought process. Every day you're blessed to wake up. Yes, be self-aware, especially when you want to become an entrepreneur. You have to be self-aware because at the end of the day, any and everybody can walk away and you're still stuck with your dream. But if you are aware, you say, okay, I'm really sad that this didn't work, but I got to keep going.
Yeah, I agree. And knowing, it takes maturity to know what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are. And my weakness could be your strength. So let's be a team and let's work off, complement each other so we can have the outcome be successful. So self-awareness is crucial. All right. Risk tolerance. What about risk tolerance, Guy?
Although risks come with entrepreneurship, it's important for a risk to try to be at least minimal.
With a new venture, things are going to go wrong and they may go right. So the course that we've been talking about, the Entrepreneur Essential, says that entrepreneurs who can manage the risk, the reward relationship will benefit in many ways. You can't take major risks. You can take those calculated risks.
Successful entrepreneurs should be comfortable with confronting risk, but it's always wise to try to control them as best as you can.
Right. And now on this slide, we put up the risk management process, and it starts out with identifying the risk, assessment and analysis, mitigation, monitoring, cooperation, and reporting. So like everything has a risk, and you can't avoid it. It's just a matter of, is it a risk that it makes sense for me to take, or is it a risk that's going to put me out of business? That's life. Um, I mean, I can say that to Will, for somebody who grew up in the city of Elizabeth, New Jersey, one of 12 boys, you took a risk to become a chef in a time where that wasn't popular back then, was it?
It just wasn't popular being a black chef.
Right. That's what I mean. And was it a calculated risk for you?
Well, I'm going to say no because I had the pleasure, the enjoyment, the satisfaction of watching my mother do it every day, 5 days a week for thousands of people who she
Mm-hmm.
never really got to see their faces
Mm-hmm.
while they were enjoying their food. But every time she slung a spoon or whipped a whisk, she was happy that she was sharing and my mother, she didn't go to school for it.
Mm-hmm.
It was something that she just learned from my grandmother, my great grandmother, her sisters. These were things she just learned.
Mm-hmm.
But she enjoyed doing it for over 20 years. She never technically got the certification to be a chef, but the satisfaction every day, her getting up 3 o'clock in the morning to be to work by 5, to have that food ready to be delivered by 7 in the morning
Mm-hmm.
to elderly community, homeless communities. She enjoyed every moment of it. So it was a risk for her, but she loved it. So it passed on to me.
Okay.
The risk aspect of it for me was when I got that certificate.
Mm.
Hey, you are now a chef. The next risk for me was when I got the next certificate, said you are an executive chef. The final one was the company that I worked for when my first assignment was to go to Italy
Oh wow.
to learn from Italian chefs and bring that back so I could become a consulting chef. The rest of it was going into somebody else's backyard and taking over their garden. How are they going to respond to me as a black chef in their backyard?
Right.
But again, go back to the beginning, curiosity.
Right.
It outweighed the risk. And while there were bumps in the road, they were learning bumps,
Mm-hmm.
not the bumps that most people would say, oh, that just, I don't want to do it because, it's too many negative too much negative feedback. You that's part of the risk.
Yeah.
You're going
Nothing
to get
comes
negative
easy.
feedback. You're going to
Nothing
get it.
comes easy. So it was a risk that you don't regret taking.
Not for 1 minute. 1 minute.
Taking being a black chef in a predominantly white male industry and reaching the heights that you reached. So that's a good story.
I want to say this. I met a young lady today after church service who is, let's say she's about 15 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And her grandmother came over to me. She actually sent me a note while we were in service, wanting me to meet her granddaughter. And I'm like, okay, I don't know why, but I did. And as soon as I started talking to this young lady, I could see the energy in her eyes. And I asked her, I said, are you planning on becoming a chef? And she said, yes. She's a junior in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, you have plans for the school? And she said, CIA.
Your alma mater.
And I was like, yes. And for those of you that don't know, CIA is abbreviation for the Culinary Institute of America in Hyde Park, New York. One of the top-notch culinary arts schools on the Eastern Seaboard. But the 15 minutes that I sat with her, you could feel the energy, the passion, the love, and desire she has for becoming a chef.
Mm-hmm.
And I just told her, culinary arts for women, black women, has turned so much in their favor. Don't lose your dreams. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't do it.
Right.
Yes, it's a risk. It is a risk, but keep that passion you got going, and it's a risk that you will not regret. And she stood up. She shook my hand first and said, thank you. And then said, can I give you a hug? And when it's time for me to graduate, will you come to my graduation?
Oh,
I told her, absolutely.
oh, that's sweet. So there you go. I mean, that I love one thing about this podcast, Faith at Work Messages, is that we are not only just presenting information and data, you share personal experiences, um, expertise, etc. Because we all have different walks, and the hope is that the things that we talk about, the things we say, will touch someone. And but just by you talking to that young lady today, you probably made her day to see a black man who was in the industry that was basically wasn't intended for us, and giving her the encouragement that she needs. So having the tolerance for risk is necessary as an entrepreneur, and being prepared and ready to receive them, right? Because they're going to come. That's life. They're going to come. Let's go to the next trait. Comfort with failure. Woo-hoo. Tell us about that one, Kai.
Entrepreneurs require comfort with failure, and they can be three major things: massive, indescribable, and unavoidable.
And instead of being paralyzed by fear, entrepreneurs must maintain a positive attitude to progress and invite success. Like this picture says, failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of success. Oh my God. I get excited about this because I don't know about y'all. I've had plenty of failures. Things that I thought were going to be so awesome and everybody was going to embrace it. In my younger years, in my middle years, and these years. But you can't let it stop you. You can't let it stop you. You have to say, okay, what did I learn from this? What can I do better? How am I going to move forward from it? I mean, it's okay if you want to cry a little bit in that moment, but don't stay there. You got to keep going. You got to say, you know what? God put this in my heart. God gave me this talent. I got to figure out how to get it out there. What are your thoughts, guys, about failure?
I mean, as we see the picture on the screen, one of the common sayings that you hear is failure is not an option. And then the more you think about it, I'm thinking sometimes maybe it's important to like confront what society may think. It may be misguided. The fact that really you can't avoid failure, and something that you could failure is the best teacher. You can learn from it, and like you could take even with not just being an entrepreneur, but just life in general with relationships. If a relationship didn't turn out the way you want to, and it was on your part, realize what did I do wrong to cause this to end, and what can I do to improve on that so it doesn't happen again.
That's right. Elder Will, what are your thoughts? Excuse me.
Failure is not an option.
Not an option?
My one failure that I thought was going to be a failure actually in the culinary field was I am deathly allergic to shellfish. I cannot ingest it. And the various locations I've worked, I've had to handle shellfish. I was scared to death the first time I made a lobster.
Oh, really?
Yes, because of the fact that I cannot ingest it.
And you can't taste it before you present it.
Exactly. That was the main failure. It wasn't even so much that I can't ingest it, I can't taste it before I sell it. So I had to get past that fear and say, well, you know what? You have put things out there and people have embraced them. So I put that lobster out there on the whim that people will embrace it. And they did. And I got over that fear of failure because of that. Like, okay, how am I going to be an executive chef if I can't prepare shellfish? I can't rely on my sous chef to do it, and they won't follow my ingredients to the T. And then I can't taste it to make sure it's done right.
Right.
I said, I'm just going to do it. Do what I do. Pay attention to what I'm doing so that this dish does not become a failure.
Right.
Like Khary said, as far as relationships, yes, there are hurdles, obstacles. Doing this entrepreneur thing and being in a relationship, if you two are not on the same page, and your partner does not even have to be part of what your vision is. But if you're not on the same page where they will support you, that's failure. That's failure in your business venture. That's failure in your relationship. And it's something that you have to not call it a comfort. You don't want that failure. The comfort is you guys are on the same page. So you sit down, you talk, You iron it out and say, hey, listen, I like working uh, for the bank. I don't have time to do this, what you're trying to do. And you come back and say, okay, I'm not going to step on your toes. But if I come to you with an idea, at least hear me out
Mm-hmm.
and give me your opinion. Pam and I, we bounce ideas off of each other almost every day.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to put the finger in one ear and hear what she's saying, take it in, not in one ear and out the other, because it's my idea. And what she says may not be what I'm seeing, but I'm willing to take it in and say, okay, this is the do's and the don'ts. If I do it this way, I may fail. If I do it this way, I'm past that. That's where people have to understand the words. Sometimes we just read that sentence, comfort or failure. Well, let's see. I guess there's a zone for failing comfortably. And they tend to do that and say, whatever. And they give up. You can't do that if you're trying to become an entrepreneur.
Right.
Past that point, we're going to get rid of the failure. Yes, you're going to have your moments where you feel like you failed. Walk away, take a deep breath, come back. And when you come back saying, God, guide these hands.
Mm-hmm.
Clear the negative thoughts from my head and feed me the positive energy that I need to make this work.
Right. You got to learn from it and not be afraid of it. So, because I mean, let's face it, we're all old enough to realize that we're all going to experience failures, right? So we just when we fail, we're just going to fall down and die. No, we're going to get up and keep it moving, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to keep it moving and figure out how to improve upon it, right? Oh, this is one of the good ones. Persistence. Now, I love this graphic. Will, do you remember back in the day when there used to be posters all over the place hanging there, baby?
Mm-hmm.
So when Khary produced this content, it reminded me of our teenage years because they used to have this poster everywhere. Hang in there, baby. Hold on. So Khary, tell us about persistence as it pertains to entrepreneurs.
Entrepreneurs shouldn't give up so easily, and they kind of connecting what we just talked about failure, looking at failure as an opportunity for learning and growing. You can realize that you can create a hypothesis, but it can be wrong and ventures can fail.
So what makes an entrepreneur successful is the willingness to learn from the mistakes. This is like reiterating what we just said, right? Learning from the mistakes, asking various questions, persist to meet the end goal. Hang in there. I mean, this graphic so reminded me of I think I had this poster to hang in there and remind ourselves that yeah, we might feel like this is exhausting because working as an entrepreneur can be exhausting. And you just gotta, for us as believers, we pray for strength. Am I right, Will?
Yes, you are.
I mean, I think about my career and I think about things Khary has done, getting his driver's license. Recently, his recent success, which I'm so uber proud of, being certified as in information technology. He was persistent. And persistence is a huge trait. Just, I mean, as an entrepreneur and in life. I mean, what are you guys thinking?
Yeah, I mean, it's important for persistence to like have like a common goal of what you would want to happen. Even going back to what I experienced, it even with getting my driver's license or when we were doing the life insurance, trying
Mm-hmm.
not getting deterred from your goal, even though you failed at it. You try to figure out where you went wrong and what can you do to improve on that. Even going back what we said at the beginning, we talked about curiosity, to try to find ways to maybe learn it better. Because even with the IT thing, what I did was I found like a test prep website that had a lot of the questions that were on the test, and that was able to help me get comfortable with the environment. That's what able to help me pass it.
That's good. That's good. Well, do you have any examples of your persistence or any words of encouragement when it pertains to persistence?
Yeah. Um, my health.
Okay.
I was one of those men who knew there was things going on, but felt the need to just keep pushing on, not taking care of my own personal issues. Until one day I decided I need to slow down, take some time to myself, and then my body decided they wanted to shut down because
Mm-hmm.
I just went from being persistently moving, clocking 30, 40, almost 50,000 steps a day. And my body's like, oh, what are you doing? We're going to shut down. You go to the doctor and they're telling you all these things that's wrong. And the doctor's saying, well, you're now officially retired. I sat back and had to process that all. And it wasn't an easy thing. The curiosity aspect kicked in, the
Mm-hmm.
failure aspect kicked in,
Mm-hmm.
and then my persistent wife decides she's going to become my personal doctor.
Yeah, that's me. Pop my collar. Go
She
ahead.
took me to these, she took me to these various doctors who decided they were to become my personal coaches to the point where they tell me things. If you don't get this under control, it's going to be me and you in the parking lot at 3 o'clock. So I gathered everybody's persistence. I not questioned it. I said, why? All these people who barely know me, other than my wife, but these people who barely know me, other than looking at medical records, why are they being so persistent? One, for me as a black man, because all my doctors are white, which I don't want to do the race thing, but we're going to be honest here. 9 times out of 10, they don't care.
Mm-hmm.
But these ladies and gentlemen fought my insurance for the issues they were denying me on, and they won for me. So they were showing me persistence pays off. And
Mm-hmm.
if you follow what we tell you and be persistent in your daily walk, then you can get your health back under control and still be productive towards your business, towards your personal life, your family who depend on you. So their persistency, Pam's persistency, Khary in his ways that he's helped me along the way, and him being persistent made me wake up and say, okay, I gotta follow. It's okay to follow. You're not always going to be the leader. You're not
Mm-hmm.
always going to be the president, the CEO, however you want to call yourself. At some point, you're going to have to follow somebody else that knows better than you do.
Right.
You learn from it, or you fail from it because you don't want to learn. Persistency does work and it does pay off.
Yeah.
Just gotta follow it.
Hang in there, baby. Let's find out the next one. All right. Innovative thinking. Kyrie, tell us about it.
Innovation and entrepreneurship intertwine, but it doesn't always mean reinventing the wheel. In business, it can it can mean taking existing products and services and improving them for changing needs.
Innovation is a strategic mindset that entrepreneurs must cultivate within. The development of problem solving skills is also necessary.
Innovative thinking helps entrepreneurs identify lucrative opportunities.
So, when it says reinventing the wheel, sometimes you may have a product or a service that you have experienced for years. And there's always a little glitch or something that doesn't quite work when you use it. but you come up with a way to remove that glitch, to make it go smoothly, and that service or that product is improved. And your people that experience it, they're like, oh, this is the bomb, even though it could be the slightest little thing. So it's not always coming up with, and I used to always think of, and this is before you came along, Kai, I want to be an inventor. I want to invent something brilliant that I can market and become rich. um, and I realized that that's not what it's always about. It's the ability to say, you know what, this is the issue. How can I solve it? And I think the best way to an example of that is my mama in love when she was having skin challenges with her hands, and the doctors kept prescribing her, you know, prescription creams and such. And she knew that I made body butters and everything. And I just felt like that she was helpless. They weren't helping her. So I wanted to help her, so I started going into my little lab and saying, oh, putting different ingredients to create a cream that was hopefully, prayerfully going to help her. And it actually did. So I didn't reinvent the wheel. I mean, people have been making creams and butters and stuff for years, centuries. So who am I? But like being able to take something that's existing and improving upon it. People love that because it does, you don't have to start from scratch sometimes you can take something that already exists and improve upon it. Any thoughts, guys?
Well, this section made me think of you remember the Pixar movie A Bug's Life, right?
Yeah.
That they had the main character, a Flick, who was an aspiring inventor himself. Mm-hmm. One of the main things in the plot of the movie was that the ants were collecting food to give as an offering to the grasshoppers. Mm-hmm. However, Flick created a device that can help expedite it, be able to collect the food much faster. However, the colony didn't adapt it initially. However, by the end of the movie, they turned around and did adapt his invention to collect the food faster.
So he was an innovative thinker.
Yes.
That's what innovation is about. Any thoughts, Elder? Well,
yeah, well, that was me with my seasonings. I got tired buying store-bought brands. Mm-hmm. Saved myself, my personal self, money by creating my own. When I did the same ingredients that they actually use and just tweak them, like buying the fresh garlic and dehydrating it and make fresh garlic seasoning that didn't have all of the additives and preservatives that do play issues with our health. It was cool when I tried it out. When I tried it out on my first dish, I'm like, oh my God, this is what I've been missing. To make my own seasonings. And look, I'm that person, my own meal. I'm going to slide on the chair myself.
On your own meal?
Exactly. I just created my own sauce or my own seasoning and basically the same ingredients that we use every day, but I found another way to incorporate them with something else that we wouldn't normally use.
Right.
And it's not, it's not processed. It doesn't go through 19 different thousand machines and, all of these things that they don't add on the ingredients list of the bottles or cans that you buy.
Right.
Once you, unfortunately, you become ill and you go to the doctor and they tell you what it came from, I don't do. And when I do ventures and, vendoring events, first thing I tell people, any of my seasonings you buy are not processed. Everything in here is natural. It does not have preservatives. And a lot of folks don't understand, well, what do you mean preservatives and ingredients? Well, they're in there. Mm-hmm. That's why the shelf life of them is so long.
Right.
I'd rather you use the ingredients in a timely manner so you can actually enjoy your food.
Right. That's all about being innovative, or in other words, being creative. And that's what makes you entrepreneurs different. We think differently, because, you can just be average Joe Schmo, go with the flow, don't really
rock the boat
or whatever. But when you're trying to make a change. For me, being an entrepreneur, I want to make a positive change in the world that we live in. And you got to think outside the box to be able to do that. So that's pretty cool. All right. I love this graphic. Long-term focus. Hit it, Kai. What is long-term focus?
Once a business starts and is functional, it doesn't stop there. That's not the end of the road. Entrepreneurial Essential says that while starting a business can relatively be easy, growing and maintaining a business isn't.
Entrepreneurship is a long-term endeavor. It is a process that requires focus from the beginning to the end to ensure long-term success.
So basically, it's almost like a marriage in a sense.
It is. You know what year I started Utopia?
What year?
The year you were born, 1994. Woo! And it has evolved. It has evolved from the time 1994 to now. We talked about it throughout this episode. My focus for wanting to be the reason that the world is a little bit better has not changed. Yes, along the way, you make changes. You add services, you take them away. You add products, you take them away. You add team members. Oh my God. But you got to be focused. You can't be distracted. Oh, well, we know so many people that are distracted, have no long-term focus. Can I get an amen, Will?
Amen.
You got to be focused when you're running a business on your own. And because I wanted to have a business that helped people to achieve their own personal utopia, I stuck with it, even if it was a side hustle at one point, right?
Mm-hmm.
For me, starting that business was about creating a utopia for the community that we live in. I wanted to create something, being a single mother at the time, so that I could leave a legacy for you. But the focus continues. Here we are all these years later. So having a long-term focus is huge. Any thoughts?
Yes, it's important to. I think for me, I'm the kind of person who I always have like a focus, but I'm a person who likes to do things one at a time. I do this first, and once we do this, and so on and so forth. It's kind of like having to, instead of trying to do everything all at once.
Right. So you're taking you have a focus, your end goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you're taking step by step to get there. You're not trying to rush to get there. But that's focus. That takes discipline and focus, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, having long-term focus speaks a lot to your character. Will?
Long-term focus. I had somebody ask me that question years ago. And it started out personal. But the person asked me, not in the focus sense, but they asked me, why did you have kids so young?
Mm-hmm.
My first was born and I was 20. Second was 24. At 18, I had a focus. I'm going to have children early. Why, you may ask? So I can still have a life left when they become adults.
Mm-hmm.
Focus. I decided I'm going to go to culinary art school. Why, you may ask again? Just because I love it, but because that's a way for me to take care of my children.
Mm-hmm.
That's a way for me to provide home for them, food, clothing, school, college. Focused. While doing all of that, I'm still focusing ahead to become better in my field. To the point where one day I'm going to have my own, and I'm still focused on that.
Okay.
Personal again, to Pam and I both. This is our second marriage. After the first one for me, I said, I ain't never doing this again.
Me too.
And I woke up one morning and said, okay, Lord, I need you to bless me with one of your angels, that I'm going to stay focused until that happens. And here she is. So it's another long-term focus, because if you truly are focused, you're not going to just jump at the first thing that comes your way. That's your failure. Because 9 times out of 10, they don't work
Mm-hmm.
because you went into it too quickly. And yes, we both got questioned. Well, why are you doing this so quick? Well, for me, it wasn't in my control. I begged the good Lord for her, and He gave her to me. So now you better do right or else. So focus is not just becoming an entrepreneur. You need to start focusing early so you can become that successful entrepreneur. And I'm not telling you to go out there and have children at an early age. That was my choice. What
Right.
I mean by it is the schooling, the learning from our parents, people in everyday life can point you in the right direction. And they could be doing it from a bad view and not even realize they're changing your life. They're putting you in the focus to not do whatever it is they're doing if it's bad.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, please embrace long term focus. Write it down, give yourself a time window. And if you reach that window and you're not there, don't get discouraged. So, okay, I just got extended a little further, but it's going to happen.
Right. All right. I like this episode. It's very motivational. Oh, we at the end.
Yep.
So look, I found this really cool graphic, and some of what we said is in this graphic. The characteristics of an entrepreneur, of a successful entrepreneur. It says self-confidence, passion, motivation, product knowledge, ability to network. Your dad is really, really, really good at that. Optimism, vision, goal mindset, risk taking, creativity. I think that's my favorite one. Persuasiveness, decision making, tenacity, and money management. Add all those things, it's like a really delicious soup to be a successful entrepreneur. This has been an awesome episode. I mean, I think my favorite part is the fact that we're speaking from 3 different perspectives. We've had all different experiences, although we're one family. And a lot of what we talked about, as far as characteristics or traits, is not just about entrepreneurship, it's about life. What was your favorite part, Kai?
I mean, I wouldn't say it's a specific one, but I think it's just the fact that we're feeding people something that for all the aspiring entrepreneurs out there, what they can take from this, and they can as a template to for their whatever their future goals may be, to use it as a way to as a springboard to help them get to where they want to go.
Will, what was your favorite part?
All of them.
All
All
of
of
them.
favorite parts because it's what we do every day. Everybody has a dream about being better. Some of us follow that dream. Some of us stall. I'm not going to say fail. I'm going to say stall.
Mm-hmm.
And they find a way back to it. But they were all positive in the sense that you guys know I'm not a big social media person.
Mm-hmm.
So my thing is I'd like to talk to people because that's how I was brought up. The days of, sitting on the porch and hanging out and talking, laughing, joking, or that phone that would hang on the wall in the kitchen, but the cord was so long that you could sit on the couch in the living room and talk.
See, Khary didn't know about that.
That's what I will always embrace. My youth, you know, always embrace it because it keeps me sane. It keeps me focused that one day we can still have these cell phones, but
Mm-hmm.
people will learn how to sit down and talk and bounce ideas off of each other and say, hey, you know what? That sounds good. Let's get together and make that work.
Right.
That's the start of your entrepreneurship. But you can't do it when you're walking down the street, not paying attention crossing the road, looking at your phone on TikTok and all them other things, not affirm believe in those, but I know that's you guys' generation. So I embrace it to an extent, and I embrace it through Pam and Khary. You guys can do the social media. I'll get with you on this and share my life and hope that if it can help one person, that I achieve something today.
Yeah. So I just want to thank Khary and thank Will. I'm going to stop sharing. Just want to thank Khary and Will for, again, having a very thoughtful conversation about entrepreneurship. I feel like everything that we talked about was life teaching, not just to be an entrepreneur, but just to be a productive adult, right? On Sundays, I normally do my pulpit porch, my porch pulpit, where I give a message, for my individual podcast. Today was our podcast as a family. And so everything that we talked about, I just feel like people can benefit from it. And I hope that people appreciate the information that we're sharing. We're sharing our life. We're sharing our personal experiences. We're sharing our professional expertise. And we find this information and try to chop it up and break it down so that people can use it. So if you enjoyed this podcast episode, please, please, please share it. Subscribe. Tell somebody about it. If you have an idea that you want us to talk about, let us know. If you want to be
join us. Come on and join us.
Yes, I was going to say that. If you want to be on it, we're here. We're real. We invite you to join in our conversation. We're always looking for ways to grow our podcast because life is too short to keep information to yourself, right? And if we have knowledge, the things that we've gone through, we're not afraid to share it. So thank you so much for sharing, for listening to us. And we're going to end for today. God bless you. Have a wonderful day. And that's all for now. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Will.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.